Aloha, this is Neenz Feleafine, and you're watching Reaching Out. And I'm very excited to have this guest today, doing a different kind of format. You know, Reaching Out is about the social side of the internet, or what I like to describe as pulling people from the screen into the studio and having a conversation face to face with them. Today, the show is called "Who is Meli James and What is she up to?" And I'm very excited to have this because we didn't really take some time to really get to know someone on the show before. We focused always on the project that they were doing. And I believe that Meli has so much to offer to the Hawaii community and to the world. She is the program manager at Blue Startups and the current president at HVCA, or Hawaii Venture Capital Association. Please welcome Meli James. How's it?
I'm good.
How's it? Did you just get a little nervous? You don't have to be nervous.
Okay.
Just be you. And just about 2 million people are watching, or two. It's
somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between.
Right.
Somewhere in between. And so those are the people that know you know that you have this extensive background in technology and startups, and so much success in it, both here in Hawaii, in Silicon Valley, and then out to all the way abroad around the world. And so that's exciting. Well, I'm going to take it all the way back, right, and just start from the basics and just start at your school, right? So you graduated of Punahou School, and we talked about some of our mutual friends that we have from there, your classmates. And what I want to know is, I always find it fascinating to find other women so interested in technology. When you were there, or if it was there, is that where you found some kind of influence that influenced you to get into technology?
I'd say my experience at Punahou was more influential of me wanting to be an entrepreneur versus specifically in technology. I'm not going to say my age or anything, but
oh, you're young.
You know, I'm super young. But there weren't a lot of those classes and resources that they have now at the schools, where if someone is interested, it's like, oh, of course, take this class on development, and then you can do this and this and this. So I'd say more my experience there was about being able to problem solve and try to think of the world as like an opportunity to solve problems, and feeling like I was empowered to do that, and make decisions and talk to my teachers as peers almost, and that I could have a real conversation about how I was feeling or something I was challenged with. And I think that was really empowering and interesting to have those kinds of experiences in high school.
Yeah. Is there anyone in particular that kind of was like, hey?
I'd say my homeroom teacher / American Studies teacher.
Oh.
So his name is Jay Seidenstein. I hope he's watching now. He was actually someone that I felt really comfortable talking to, an adult who was my professor or my teacher, but also was really real with me. So I was able to really talk to him and say, hey, this was happening here in class, and I really felt like it would have been better like this. And he's like, oh, that's an interesting thought. Why do you feel that way? And I felt that there was that kind of initial conversation that was kind of constructive. He was also my homeroom teacher, in that I think I really started coming into my own a little bit later in high school, more like junior year, where my grades kind of went from like pretty good to like a lot better. And he had said, Meli, I really wasn't sure about you. And I finally had you. I finally had you in my class, junior year, and I'm really impressed. And but he wasn't impressed with me in a homeroom in 9th or 10th grade. So that was inspiring.
Yeah. So it's interesting how just a few words, right? I really there's a principle out there that said thoughts become things, words become things, right? And so for him to say that to you, like, I was really impressed. Really to me kind of manifested into what you're describing as the rest of your high school career, which then got you into Cornell.
Yes.
And is that where you discovered your geekiness?
Let's see. So I went to Cornell, and I was at the School of Hotel Administration. So it's a business. Like
a great Hawaii resident.
Of course. I know I could always get a job in Hawaii if I needed to. So it was more like a business degree. And so I took an entrepreneurship class, but really my schooling there was what brought me to my initial passion for wine, which was my first startup.
Yes.
So we can talk about that later, but I kind of stumbled into my first startup, always thinking I wanted to work for myself, but kind of going through that, initial, you graduate from school, and then I had some fun. I actually worked for the Paralympics in Sydney for a little while, but then came back to Silicon Valley and kind of got a normal-ish job, and really kind of got into tapping into my entrepreneurial spirit a little bit later.
Right. How supportive, like, is your family, close friends? Because you just said, like, a normal-ish job, and till today, you know, I have to tell my mom, no, I am working, right? I just work for myself as an entrepreneur. How has your, like, immediate family, because traditionally, people think work is going into an office space, clocking in, spending your 8 hours there, and then coming home, and then sometime in the 12 months you have 2 weeks off.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
Which
say...
sounds like prison to me when I just
like
described it.
I would say initially it was challenging because, especially here in Hawaii, and hence the reason I went to the hotel school, right? Was I could always get a job at a hotel or in tourism, which was a safe bet. Being from Hawaii, if I ever wanted to move home or really wanted to live anywhere, I could always get a job somewhere. There are always hotels somewhere. So that was kind of the original, like, oh, Meli, you know, play it safe. Granted, Cornell's a great school, so there wasn't like anything bad to go there. But it was that idea, like, you could always get a job somewhere. When I started my first company, I definitely had a lot of resistance from my immediate family. My sister's actually quite a bit younger, so I think she was still in college when I made that transition, so she wasn't as much a part of the conversation. But definitely my parents were... It wasn't something that was really traditional. This was back in 2007 when I made that transition.
Around that same year for myself too, and the immediate concern of my parents, of course, were, what about the kids? Or how are you going to raise your kids? And I thought, the same way I do now, you know. Except what I want to talk about was, what brought to mind was, at what age did you realize that risk wasn't a big deal? It was actually thrilling. Like, were you, you know, Papa Willie on your bicycle, or diving from cliffs?
That's,
you know, because entrepreneurship is a lot of risk, right? Because you don't know when the next paycheck is coming, unless you make a sale, and you don't have a sale unless you have a product, right? Unless you go to market. And so you hope, you know, for the investment. You live off of Simon, like we did, you know, except, like, when did, you know, because you said it was, you know, like, scary, and, like, when did you know you could take a risk? Because now you do it all the time, and you teach others, and you encourage them, you know, like, go for it.
I think I've always had that in me. So, you know, when I graduated from college, I had a great job lined up for me that I had interviewed for in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, a large salary, and I just felt like I didn't want to do that. So I decided to buy a ticket to move to Sydney for 4 months. I think that's the most you can have a visa for. And just showed up there with no job, and ended up getting a job with the Paralympics to finish out. They do a lot of, like, a catering events around the Olympics and stuff like that. So I was there for the opening ceremony and doing all that. So I think I always had it in me to take risks. But I would say that I always kind of had this little voice behind me saying, like, no, you should, like, get a real job. And so I did that. And I'm actually happy that I did. I think it's different for everyone. Some people, maybe college isn't for them. Maybe they should go to, like, a dev boot camp and get more vocational skills and just start building. That might be for somebody. Or is it going to college and then immediately starting your first startup? Or for some people, like me, I definitely use a lot of the skills that I honed working in corporate to my job today, and to all my startups. And I think those are great skills that I wouldn't have had otherwise. But I'd say the really big point of which I said, okay, this is like okay to do.
We want to know.
Was I was in a job. I was actually working for the San Jose Convention and Visitors Bureau. So I was the head of marketing and research for the bureau. So basically marketing San Jose to the world as a destination. And I hated it. So
I was gonna say, I love San Jose.
I know. No,
San Jose is
food. But I think I was really caught up with thinking that I had to have a job that was a reflection of my degree, and it was academic. I was smart because I had this job. You know, this was, you know, I don't know. This was basically like me heading up these economic impact studies, and it was very academic.
Yes.
And I was bored, and I had a really hard time with that because I felt like, oh, you know, if you're successful and you're seen as like someone smart, you need to be around, you know, people that you know went to school with, or I don't know. I just felt like there was this kind of like reflection of what things were supposed to look like. So I started seeing a life coach / like career coach.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
We just had a conversation earlier today.
So I started seeing this life coach, and I wasn't quite sure where it was going to take me, but I knew I wasn't happy where I was. And you know, we worked. I think I went to see her once a week for 4 hours, and started looking at all these different things of, okay, well, what are you good at? What are you not good at? What do you like doing? What do you not like doing? What are different types of things that would interest you? Let's just throw them on the board. And so, you know, I had wine up there. I was interested in like city planning. I mean, it was just like all over the place. I knew I kind of, maybe I wanted to work for myself, or maybe I wanted to work for some big corporation doing this and
so
making a ton of money.
your typical entrepreneur
just
map, right?
Everything, and just like throwing it on the wall, and also kind of making a list of like the things I liked and didn't like doing. And I even reached out to friends and family. What do you think I'm good at? What am I not good at? And that was like.
So how was that? That takes a lot of vulnerability. That's a risk right there.
Yes, it is.
To ask your friends and family, like, what do you think I'm good at?
Yeah. Or what do you think? What can I work on?
And then hope they reply to the email, right?
Yeah.
Say something.
Well, yeah. And so we gave the option. You could either reply anonymously through my coach, or you could reply directly to me. So that was also interesting. So I knew that she had a whole bunch of other feedback that I didn't know who it was from.
Right.
And then a whole bunch came to me directly, which was cool. So having all those things on the wall was actually really interesting because her point was, you never know when something's going to strike you and you're going to get interested in it. So why not just get everything out there? So if something kind of sounds similar to something that's on the wall, maybe you can have that conversation versus someone saying, I don't know what I want to do. I just don't know what interests me. And so when my business partner first approached me to start Nirvino, my first company, he mentioned wine. And I said, oh, okay, I'll keep talking to you, because that was on my wall.
Yes.
And it was a mobile website for wine, and it was, you know, starting a company. So that was another thing on the wall. I wanted to work for myself.
Right.
So that's kind of how that whole conversation started.
All the sparks are going off. You're getting triggered. Wine, make money, work for myself.
Yeah.
You know, and then that gave you the courage to say, I'm going to go for it. Right. So you mentioned your company, Nirvino. So it's one of the most popular apps, focuses on wine and ratings. And for myself, I long to be like some kind of wine connoisseur, some kind of sommelier, and so it's helpful. You know, it's totally helpful, especially when I'm in the store. I'm like, which one did I have, or was it that one? You know, and so tell me about that now. Like, it's still going, it's still out there, you're still part of that team?
I'm actually not part of the team anymore. I had a big falling out with my co-founder.
Okay.
So that's a whole other fun story about what to do and what not to do when you are forming a founding team of a company.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that was my first company, so I made a lot of mistakes myself. You know, what I signed and what I didn't sign. So I am still part of the company, but I don't have any operating, and I don't have any duties. I basically, you know, if they were to sell, I would get something, but I don't have any. I don't have any voting rights or anything like that.
But that's still awesome.
Yeah, but the app is still out there.
Yeah.
We were #1 for about 2.5 years. We were actually one of the first wine apps that came into existence. So we were also top 10 in lifestyle apps, and we were actually featured in every Apple store, physically featured in every Apple store around the world.
Yeah, so that's a great feather to have. We're going to go to commercial right now. And when we return, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into Meli and her mind and what kind of advice she has and what she's learned in startups and entrepreneurship. Mahalo.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel, CEO of ThinkTech. On Thursday, December 11th, we're having our annual reunion party. We call it ThinkTech United. It's at the Laniakea YWCA. It's for our speakers and hosts and moderators and friends. Please come down. Everybody is invited to be united. We'll see you there. Check our website for details. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Carlos Juarez, and I host Global Connections here on the ThinkTech broadcast series. We broadcast live every Thursday from 2 o'clock and also on Olelo 54. Please make sure to tune in and join us. We'll see you there.
Aloha and welcome back to Reaching Out. I'm your host, Neenz Feleafine, and we're here today with the amazing Meli James. And the show today is who is she and what is she up to? And what we're going to dive into now is just what are your lessons learned? We talked about risk and what point in your life and how you were helped and supported in that. And then you dive in, and of course there's always these benefits and drawbacks, right? The great benefits that people see as entrepreneurs: you can work for yourself and set your own hours, you know. That's all. As an entrepreneur myself, that's all like this much of it, you know, and that much drawbacks. And so I mentioned some of them. You know, you folks, you started a lot. There's Novino, there's Twin Tug. There's also Hawaii Apps Inc. All of them, which I love, and I can empathize with all of that because it's all great ideas, right? It's the execution part, and it's the team. And so, what would you say is like your number one piece of advice before anyone enters a partnership?
A partnership.
Yeah.
I would say ask the hard questions up front, and don't be afraid to ask those questions, and get everything signed at the dotted line. Because, you know, if things go really well, people get selfish.
Sure.
If things go really poorly, people get selfish. So either way, it's just good to know where you stand with your partner and having an exit strategy. If you're 50-50 partners, which I never recommend doing, you know what would happen if you guys didn't agree to something major. Was there a third party that would be, you know,
some kind of arbitrator, right? They could come in.
Yeah. I would also say before starting any company, make sure that you're, you know, financially in a good place. You never want to be starting something in desperation, or just trying to get money quickly, because that's not good for the company and that's not good for you. And people can really smell that. So I would say the great thing about right now is there's so many resources out there right now, and we can get into that, blue startups and co-working spaces and all that. But that you don't have to quit your day job to actually start pursuing your dream of being an entrepreneur and starting a company.
Right, I agree. You know, when you talk about like being co-founders and everything, do you recommend that co-founders and partnerships or just kind of mirror each other's values, or only certain values? I found that I gravitate towards people in what didn't work in my startups that didn't work. It was that I saw them greater than they saw themselves, almost. You know. You know, and so it's not going to work out because we had different levels of belief in what the end vision is. I mean, have you had experience in that as far as like values go?
I would say to definitely know ultimately where they want to be with this company. So do you want to be a CEO? Do you want to be running a big company or a mid-sized company? Are you looking to have an acquisition early on? So people start companies for very, very different reasons. And I think also you want someone that's going to complement your skill set, right? The whole point, especially at Blue Startups, when you're in an accelerator, we try not to actually accept single founders, because we find that we obviously come from very different places, have very different experiences, have very different like knowledge sets. We can each start a company, and both of us all of a sudden are both called a founder. Yeah. But that means something completely different as to what I'm bringing to the table, what you'd be bringing to the table. If I could even be a CEO or should be, right? Or if you could or should, right? So I think that it's important when you're looking for a co-founder to find someone that complements your skill set. So are you operations? Are they development? You know, business? Right. It's great to be able to share the load.
I got this from, and I think I mentioned it in one of my shows, right? Dr. Ciroli, he does three roles in any startup, right? You have your product person, the person who's going to build the product. You have your marketer, the one who's going to sell your product, and then you have your finance person, right? Who's going to bring in the money, right? The business and everything. And for me, I look at, like, okay, so what's my role in that? I'm definitely marketing. you know. And so to be able as an entrepreneur, as a leader, to like kind of let go a little bit, you know, and then trust that your product and you know what to do there. I know what to do on my end, and the finance person knows what to do, and business development knows what to do on that end. And I've found that it works that way. Like once we're willing to be honest, instead of just saying like, oh, I want to be CEO. We all want to be CEO. I've learned that I don't want to be CEO.
And that's good to have that conversation before you start the company.
Yes.
What are your roles? What are your responsibilities? Of course, everyone wears every hat. And when it comes down to it, you're all working your butts off.
Yes.
But it's good to have those conversations early on.
Right. Who has the strength in that? So you mentioned Blue Startups, and I love that. I love it as an accelerator. However, for some of our viewers, they may not know what does that mean, an accelerator. So give us some background about Blue Startups.
Sure. So we're a venture accelerator. What that means is we invest in and mentor early stage startup companies. We give them kind of keys to success. So if you think about reasons why startups don't work, it's either lack of capital, they can't find any funding, or they don't have any money. It's no office space. It's the right introductions to the right people, whether it's strategic partners or customers or users, clients, and also mentors. So we're a mentor-driven program. I definitely don't believe that I know everything. I'm very aware of that. So what we do is we really hone the resources that have always been here in Hawaii. We have so many successful business people, people who are experts in their field, that really want to help build the startup ecosystem here in Hawaii that have never really been tapped. So we've found these people, whether it's in PR, financials, legal, all those types, development, all those different types of things, and really hone their skills, have them come in and do workshops, their mentors, to really pull this kind of resource together to help these startups as they're just starting off.
And so what is the process for them to come to you folks? Like, and are you specifically only looking for tech, or really just, hey, what are you doing out there?
So that's a great question. So we look for scalable, capital efficient companies. So scalable means they can grow quickly, and they have global ambition, meaning they're not looking to just service the Hawaii market. They're not a lifestyle company, so like a bakery on the corner, or like a fitness place on the corner. And those can obviously be great lifestyle companies. People can make millions themselves, but it doesn't make as much sense for investors to come in. They're looking for a 10x, 20x. Return on their investment. So those types of businesses aren't really what we're focused on, but again, those are great things to do as well. And then capital efficient, meaning they don't need $10 million to like get the product out. We don't do biotech and things like that.
I've been on moderated a couple panels where Shanoa from Blue Startups was being pitched, and it's really important to let people know this is exactly what we're looking for. This one panel we did, it was wide open, and so we had pitches from I need like $1,000 to I need $10 million, right? And so it's a lot of lessons learned though, and to see what's really out there in Hawaii. I'm sure you folks have heard like a lot of various pitches from all kinds of, even though you said it has to be scalable, right? You have to go global, right? And then there's going to be someone who just says like, I just want to open up my shop on the corner. Can you help me out?
And actually, what's funny is we get so many of those, and I don't want to discourage anyone from doing that. So that's just not what we focus on. But again, that's a great business to start. So what's funny is I speak at a couple conferences, and I'm always so surprised. I feel like a little celebrity, even though I'm totally not. But just dozens of people lined up afterwards to talk to me, to just want to know and get access to resources available here. So it might not be something that Blue Startups can help them with, but I can point them to the Box Jelly, a co-working space. There are tons of workshops that a lot of them are free. Most of them are free. Even these like development boot camps. There's so many things that are happening in the community here that can help people in any kind of startup that they're trying to start.
I just was a judge on, it was the first International Women's Hackathon.
Oh yeah.
And it was sponsored by Challenge Post, Microsoft. And there were women developers on teams age 10 to older, right? 10 years old, and this team, I think they were like only in their teens still, developed 2 apps in the 6 hours that that we gave them, you know. So there are people in Hawaii, you know, and there are spaces. This was at Proto Hub, you know. So you mentioned Box Jelly. There's Proto Hub. There's all kinds of people, just saying like, hey, we're here, and we're here to serve you. We just have to know where you are, you know. And I know that you folks have. I've loved every cohort so far from Blue Startups. I've loved the idea, and then just the companies that you folks have brought in, and each is so unique, and yet serves their market. What is the next step for your cohorts? Like once they're done here, I know you folks introduce them, get them in front of like the best in their industry. You know, is there any relationship after, or any follow up after?
Yeah, so it's definitely not, you know, push the duck, you know, the little birds out of the nest and then just see what happens. They, you know, they're part of our portfolio. So we want to see them succeed. The way we view success is how much follow-on funding they're able to attract. So we of course introduce them to investors. They do 2 demo days, one in Honolulu and one in Silicon Valley, and we've done, I think, about 13.5 million in follow-on funding from the, I think it's 7 or under $1 million in investment that we do to each company. So just to be clear, we invest 20,000 into each company, and they go through a rigorous 3-month program. I think I forgot to mention that part of the very important part of Blue Startups. So your question is, how much do we engage with them?
So after, right? So you're constantly in contact.
We're not constantly. It's more when they reach out to us, or if I meet an investor or someone, I'm like, this would be a perfect customer for. You know, you always have to have these. I mean, you're the same way. You have all these million, you know, connections here. You're like, oh, that would be perfect for this company. We of course do that because we want to see them succeed. We want to get our investment back too.
Right. So the relationship is long term. And then what I wanted to talk about was like, I get it because I'm a geek. I'm in tech. You know, I'm an entrepreneur, and you know, I do want to make money too, and everyone else. So why should it be important to the hotel worker, or that's never going to start a startup? You know, why is an incubate accelerator here in Hawaii important to the community at large?
So it's important because we're trying to build an innovation ecosystem here, and I believe, and many people believe, that this is an area that can really help Hawaii create jobs. I think in the past it's been tourism, military, for the most part.
And then government.
And government.
That's it,
and Hawaii's a perfect place to help build this. And what innovation means is it could be anything. It's building any kind of company. And I think what's so cool about that is when you can have a headquarters here, you can really start to see the breadth of jobs that it can create for people. It's not just high wage. It's middle, it's low. It's someone that just graduated from college that can come in at a low-paying job and actually grow with the company versus being a satellite office, the Hawaii satellite office, and that's your job, and once you're done with that job, that's it for you.
Right.
But I think in terms of why people should care, it's if the hotel worker is interested, I think whether it's their children or other family members. I know for myself, when I was in high school, it was about the brain drain. Oh, it's the brain drain. And I had convinced myself that I was never going to move back. Oh, I know I'm not going to probably come back here. And so then I was in San Francisco for, 10 years, having that idea that there's no way, there's nothing for me in Hawaii. I'd come back for the holidays, I'd come back in the summer, and, this was way early on, but, I can't even imagine what I would do here because I wasn't interested in being, a banker, lawyer, or, a doctor. But I have a lot of ambition. I'm not trying to say that those are the only people that are ambitious here. I'm just saying that those were like considered the high-paying jobs here, more traditional high-paying jobs. And I'm just really excited to be bringing some of that San Francisco over here, because really, if you think about innovation and building companies, it's anything. You can build a company around anything. You can be interested in anything. I mean, I could list off, 50 different ideas that spread through various industries and ideas, and that's the coolest thing. You can't actually put it in a box.
Yep, and I guess that's what people need to hear, right? So we're going to go to commercial, and I hope you're inspired out there to do something, and or encourage the person sitting next to you while you're watching this at your desk to go for it and do something, because innovation is anything in Hawaii. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to find out what is next for Meli James.
Okay, I'm Jay Fidel. That's Ray Starling. We co-host a show called Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. It's really interesting. You know, Ray has a way of unzipping these guys. He asks them these questions, and all this stuff tumbles out, and we find out stuff we would never know about without Ray's questions. Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome, Jay. I'm very pleased to be your Ed McMahon every Wednesday at 4 o'clock here on the internet. So you can join us and see what's happening in the energy world, and there is a lot going on. So join us every Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, come around. Be energized right here on ThinkTech. Aloha.
Hello and welcome back to Reaching Out. My name is Neenz Feleafine and we are with the amazing Meli James. And if you missed it, you're going to have to watch the replay. We're talking about innovation, we're talking about risk, we're talking about entrepreneurship, and now we're going to talk about what is next for Meli. So you wear all these different hats, and we talked about that, and we both are similar in that we get excited when someone shows us a new idea and we want to support it over and over. Except sometimes it gets overwhelming, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. It just means, like, where do we find that harmony, you know, that we talked about before. And so you've got Blue Startups, HVCA, also some Cornell,
Yes.
alumni.
Health Society.
Yes, right. Hats that you still wear
And
there.
Honolulu New Tech.
Honolulu New Tech, Startup Hawaii.
Yep.
Yeah, board member, you know. So just a few things that we mentioned, you know. I mean, also community member, citizen, you know, all of that, you know. So I want to find out more about, like, your values and how all of that ties into it, and living one's purpose. You know, I think that's where successful entrepreneurship comes in, when what you're doing is actually what the reason why you're here.
Mm-hmm. So I think for me, when I decided I wanted to move back, then I started Hawaii Apps.
Mm-hmm.
But more around the stuff I'm doing now, I do see myself as an entrepreneur. We're kind of figuring out this whole startup ecosystem here, and it is essentially a startup.
Yes.
You know, Blue Startups is a startup. You
Yes.
know, and really honing this community and getting support is all part of, like, you know, forging your way through figuring all of this out. What was your question?
What's next? I mean, living one's life's purpose, you know.
Yeah.
Do you feel like what you're doing, yep, that's exactly what I'm supposed to be doing?
I do, actually. When I first moved home, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do here. I just knew that I wanted to come home, and I had an opportunity to start Hawaii Apps with 3 local business people here. Yes. One of which is Kitty Lagaretta.
Yes. I love Kitty.
I love Kitty.
Yeah.
Hi, Kitty. And that was really exciting to me. It was kind of a great way for me to get into the scene here. And we were, you know, building apps for local businesses and building some of our own internal projects. But I feel like what I'm doing now and helping to build this amazing community here is really what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, just understanding where I came from and being gone for so long, and not thinking that I could come back because there was nothing for me here, just me thinking that way. I really get excited when I get phone calls or emails from people on the mainland who want to come home, and or just have come home and they want to meet for coffee. That's like those are the parts where I get really excited. Like, you came back. Now what are you going to do? Well, this is there, and I can tell them all these different things, and they get so excited. And then I see them figure out what they want to do in their place in a startup, or they're working on this, and I just
And they're home.
And they're home.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they're seeing all the stuff on Facebook and social media about what we're doing here on Startup Paradise, and because that's our branding of everything going on here in the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Hawaii is called Startup Paradise.
Yes.
And so they're following that, you know, that hashtag, saying there seems like there's so much going on here. I want to get in on it. And I just, that's the part that makes me feel the best, like knowing that I'm doing something that I really believe in, makes me feel that I'm doing something that I love.
Yeah, I feel that from you, that you know, like all that answer in one. I'm just thinking to myself that, so you basically inspire and motivate people to live their purpose. you know, that's your purpose, like to get you going in what you want to do, you know. And still in tech, or is there another field that also interests you?
Well, I think we focus a lot on tech, but
for you personally,
for me personally,
like if you could like really build, I don't know. You mentioned baking, right? The bakery business here in Hawaii, or the cupcake business.
I'm gonna start a bar.
Yeah, really? Yeah, I would go there. I think some of my viewers know that I would.
Yeah, I think I actually have always dreamt about starting like a wine bar or something, but maybe that's like way down the road. I'll start something on the beach somewhere. But I think, I'm also really interested in building community and giving people access to resources. So whether that's its own startup in itself, you know, I love engaging with outside entities like from the mainland who can come in and bring in resources. And those are huge projects in and of themselves. But I guess what really gets me going is seeing people that I've never seen before coming in and just seeing this thing grow. Because when I came back 2 years ago, I didn't say like I met everybody in like a week or anything, but I pretty much had my finger on like, okay, what was going on event-wise. Now I love when I'm like, oh, that happened? I had no idea. That's awesome. You know, there's like things are happening here, and it's getting so much bigger that it's bigger than yourself, of course, and that it just keeps growing.
Yes. When I first got into the tech scene, the social media scene, you know, tweet-ups were the big thing back in the early millennial, you know, and I remember planning them, attending every single one, and, you know, fast forward all these years later, and I'm like, I don't remember the last time I went to a tweet-up. Somebody came in from the mainland and said, hey, Neenz, I'm coming in. I'd like to see everybody have a tweet-up. I'm like, I don't even know if I know how to plan one anymore, or if anyone would come. It's such a different time, and not just that socially. However, there's so many things going on. Like I mentioned, the hackathon. This Saturday is another. It is just for women who want to learn how to make iOS apps or mobile applications, and men are invited if they bring a woman. Like, I thought that is so genius. Like, date night for me, that's a great date night.
Yeah.
Right. All the geeks together, and you know, we can learn how to code. So what's next for you though? I mean, it's amazing what you folks are doing at Blue Startups, and that for me is hopefully, you know, a forever thing. Right. I hope that my great-grandchildren will watch this episode and be like, you know, it started that long ago. Anything else that you are able to share with what's next?
I'm not able to share everything, but
the winery that you're going to purchase
the winery I just purchased, yes. I'll give you a bottle. I would say just more from an HVCA standpoint, because that's something that I just I became the president in April. And kind of shifting gears a little bit, I call it putting the VC back in HVCA. So really kind of focusing it in on venture capital and entrepreneurs, and not, you know, just really focusing on that. And one of the big things that we're doing is the event on Thursday, which is the growing Hawaii's innovation economy. So one of the things that I'm very, very passionate about is engaging the business community in with the innovation community, and how we can start seeing some of the Bishop Street CEOs on Bishop Street and the companies on Bishop Street supporting entrepreneurship and startups. And I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about being beta customers, being strategic partners, opening your doors and saying, this is a problem we're having. We'd love to have someone find a solution.
And here's our challenge. Please solve it.
So that's what I would say that I'm really focused on from an HVCA standpoint for my next thing. In terms of, you know, personally, and I think we were talking about this earlier, that when I first came back, I kind of did everything, and I'm starting to try to say no to things and really figure out what's important to me. And what I do know that's important to me is really getting the word out and engaging with people that are from here that have left and they want to come back, and how we can help better do that.
How to build a bridge for them to come home. That's I'd be interested in that, and I know that there are so many other people that have made it home too. You know, I was away for some years, as well. And I thought I'd never come back too. And then I did, you know, and then I did, right? And then I would never have dreamed this would be my life now. And you don't know, right, until you take the risk and actually create it and then find the right people, right, the right team. When it comes to HVCA or even Blue Startups, let's tie it back into government. Are there any, with the ledge coming up this year, like anything that the general public needs to know about that could support your two organizations?
So we're actually just talking about that now at our board meeting. You know, one of the things is obviously broadband is a big thing. Yeah. We really want to get broadband here. And also just tax incentives for small business. You know, we can have all these startups and have them grow. At a certain point when they start making money and they're here, that's when these things start to really matter.
Yes.
You know, where does it make more sense to be in another state just from a tax perspective? Those are all really important. Another thing is the high growth initiative, where a lot of the funding for Blue Startups, for MBloom, which is on Maui, the GVS Transmedia Accelerator, which is a media accelerator in Kona. A lot of these efforts are coming from a fund, state funds, that have helped support growing this economy as well. So those are all really important.
Is there still funding, or in this ledge there will be some lobbying and needed testimony to fund it again?
Yes, there will be. Yes.
Okay, will definitely help to get the word out on that.
And we're excited David Ige won.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that he'll be very supportive. Neenz, I know you're a very big part of that.
I will do my best to influence as much as I can. However, it's good to know that one, he is a business owner, has experience in startups, understands budgets, you know, like all the things, all the strengths that I see we need, if not just for Hawaii, but especially for what you folks are building with Blue Startups and in this new ecosystem. Tourism is wonderful here. It has its benefits and drawbacks, as with all the other leading industries. You know, we have construction now, again, benefits and drawbacks, you know, on that. And so there's this tech industry that people have been talking about for, I think, decades. And I don't even think you were born yet when Jay Fidel, then we're first having the conversations here in Hawaii. And then we came along to kind of continue to carry that torch. When is the next time Blue Startups is looking for their next cohort?
We'll be opening applications December 1st, and our next cohort starts mid-February.
Okay, and this is open to anyone around the world?
Anyone around the world, yep. We promote, we recruit internationally.
Okay, and I want to, like, real quickly, like, what's the challenge of finding, like, local ones? Like, I see abundance in them. It's like getting them to you.
Yeah,
it's almost like
I always find it so interesting when people are like, "Oh, we didn't know about you guys." I'm like, how did you not know about us? I feel like we're everywhere, but I mean, maybe that's just because I'm here.
Like in the middle.
Yeah, I'm in the middle. Yeah, and then it's always so funny when a team will come up and say, "Hey, we're working on this. We've been working on it for like a year here," and it's really awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my God, this always happens." And of course, we hope to get them in our cohort. Yeah. But I think there's always been a challenge of like talent here. We have been so isolated, but I think it is growing. We're attracting more people. We found in the past that a lot of the companies here were really early stage, a lot earlier stage than some of the mainland companies. Of course, because we're pulling from a much larger pool than here. So that's why we created a 6-month program.
Okay.
And we have a seed stage and a growth stage for the teams that come in. There's a 3-month traditional program. Now we have a 6-month for more of the seed stage companies that need a little bit more time to get to demo day to pitch for capital from the investors. Okay,
so we're going to wrap the show now. I thank you very much for being here.
Thank you,
and sharing your mind and your thoughts with all of us. Thank you, all of you. Thank all of you for joining us. Please watch the replay, and mahalo.